Howdy y'all, it's me. Yep, I don't know why I can't get straight in that seat until I get on video. I guess I want to see where I'm at. Look, I got some words and phrases and some different things I think you all need to think about. And I thought about what if I was in this position or I was here, you know, just like everybody else, and try and look at things from every side, so that I could make a reasonable and logical, not emotional, but reasonable and logical discernment of things. I got a friend of mine, I call him Downtown Dan. It's just Dan. But Dan is in trouble. He and his family have spent a little over $100,000, his and his family's life savings, to get him out of jail and keep him from going to prison on the most ludicrous case I've ever seen in my life. It's so obvious that the police kidnapped him, kicked in his door, trashed his house, damn near killed his dog, beat him up pretty good, falsified a lot of records. It's just off the hook, you know. Well, anyway, he has had me to look over things and give him the benefit of my opinion, okay, based on my training experience. I gave my opinion. I've helped him locate various cases, and he's located cases, and he's filed in state courts and federal courts and done all the things he needs to do in reference to his case. I can't tell you any more than that. There might jeopardize the integrity of his rebuttal and refuting the case. And the idiots, the buffoon, cold-hearted idiots dropped the case, because guess what? In this particular case, the law enforcement officer, not peace officer, law enforcement officer who made the first fraudulent charge of attempted capital murder on a peace officer, wouldn't give a deposition and wouldn't appear in court in his own case against the man. That's the most peculiar thing I ever seen. I never seen no policeman get shot at and almost hit or killed and not been refused to participate in a deposition or go to court. But then when you go and check the man's background, you find out he's got a lot of loose boards in the house, as it were. And he's got a really bad, questionable past. Okay? Now, a lot of people talk about, well, I wouldn't hire somebody to be the dog catcher. Well, I wouldn't hire him to be the dog catcher, but about the only place he would probably be safe is on a work crew. That law enforcement being on a work crew somewhere where he's supervised by other officers, or minimum working in some junkyard somewhere out where he couldn't bother nobody. But anyway, I'm asking you all that are Christians and people of faith, please pray for Dan and his family and their needs. He's very, very needy in this area, and he's a very thoughtful man. And if he's told me thank you, appreciate you, love you, believe in you, one time he said it 100 times. And we've been on this thing off and on for about 3 months now. Anyway, every time he says something, I have said, for the benefit of the doubt, let me go to the wall and do everything I can to verify you first, to make sure you're solid in who you say you are and what you say your situation is before we go any further. Well, he proved out, and every single thing he said, he's done, minus one thing, and he's working on that now. So, you know, if a man says something and proves it up, says something, proves it up, and just keeps doing it over and over and over, you kind of get the idea the guy might be truthful. Plus, the guy's never had so much as a parking ticket, and getting up close to about 60 years old now, never had a parking ticket. You know, he's just clean, hard-working man. Okay? Anyway, I'll trust y'all to do that. We're at about 5 minutes, so let me move along here. I did get some work from Brother Guru, Tony, the Ohio Enforcer, the Ohio Guru on my computer. So now I got some more RAM, and I got a new solid state drive and graphics cards and some things to help me on my computer. But I got to use the computer to put up my words to help me remember some things and then tell you here on the phone. So here goes. An enacting clause. Look in your state legislature, and before something's going on, you see an enacting clause. This is an act. Or to make reference to, this is the enacting clause, or to just say enacting. It's a clause, but it means enacting. It's telling you that if we don't have an enacting clause, it's not a law. It's a suggestion, it's a thought, we have a consensus on it, but without the enacting clause, it's not a law. That's the first thing. Second thing is, we want to see the promulgation of the law. Promulgation, where it's open and notorious. Open and notorious. That don't mean it just gets put on the internet. No, that won't do, because you have millions and millions of people that do not have a smartphone or a computer. Even if they do, they don't know how to properly use them. They don't know how to read these promulgations. And even if they did, it still doesn't take away. The government has a duty, an absolute duty, to publish it in a publication. Whether that's 3 pages, 5 pages, 10 pages, or they put them out every 6 months and do all the new laws, and it's 10 or 15 pages of new laws or whatever. It has to be promulgated that says, on the so-and-so date, the state assembly or the state legislature assembled, and that they took these bills, they looked at them, and that they read them on 3 separate days. Even if they went in Monday and read it, Tuesday and read it, and Wednesday and read it. So it has to be read on 3 separate days. 1 day, 2 days, don't do it. It takes 3 readings. And they have to have discussions after the readings to discuss the plus, the minus, all this stuff. So 3 readings. Once that's done, then they have to promulgate it in its true original form. And in Texas, it's called the Sessions Laws. It's probably called the same thing or something very similar or near to it in every state. But it is the law that comes out of the assembly session or the legislative session. And in Texas, it's called the Sessions Laws. But in different states, different things, like I say. So that is the state law. That's not a statute. That's not a code. It's not a policy. It's not a way we do things around here. That's the honest to God state law. That's what they can arrest you on. That's what they can put you in jail upon. So long as it is not repugnant to the state and the national constitution. So if it's not repugnant, it's been read on 3 several days, there's been conversations, and it's been promulgated correctly. That means it's in the courthouse, it's in the Capitol building, it's posted prominently in the Capitol building. It's posted at, for example, the post office, where people go and send and receive mail through the United States Post Office. It is posted at the courthouses. It's posted at all the city halls. And that goes for especially federal law. Now, federal law would have to be at all the federal courthouses and all the post offices. Okay? It may have to be other places to be considered promulgated. Then they also have to put out books to the various states that go to the law libraries, where people can see them at the law libraries. But you don't have to be a lawyer to go to the law library. Okay? That was your tax fund that put it up. It's like a public library, but it's a law library. And they sometimes give people static about going there. Were you an attorney? No. You a paralegal or a judge's aide or something, or you a clerk? Why do you need to come here? I'm a man and I pay taxes and it's a public entity and I have a right to be here and I want to study the law, so I don't get in front of some judge someday and they said, oh, ignorance of the law is no excuse. Well, if they don't let me in the law library where I can learn the damn stuff, ignorance is going to be my excuse. It's going to be my reason because they won't let me in the damn library to learn it, dummy. You know, I mean, I got one friend of mine, if I use the word dummy, he'd be all upset. He don't like that word. But we grew up watching Sanford and Son around my place, and so Sanford's always calling Lamont dummy. So we used that a lot, being funny, you know. But some people are dummies, idiots, buffoons, lunatics, and what they say is ludicrous. Okay. The next thing is learn the nomenclature. That's a word that the military uses a lot, saying military nomenclature. It is words, phrases, and terminology used in the military. Like they got like 4 bells in the Navy. They got 4 bells. You know, in the Marines they got semper fi, do or die. You know. I think it's the Army's the hoorah. You know. I don't remember what all of them are. I used to remember all these things, and I may remember them and just ain't coming to the front of my mind now. My memory's a funny thing. It comes and goes. So the more rest I have, less stress, my memory gets a lot better. More stress, less sleep, it gets a little worse. Kind of like everybody else, except even more so at times. So you got legal or lawful nomenclature. Now I say they're 2 separate things. You got a legal side and a lawful side. Okay? The legal nomenclature is like it says any person. Well, a person's a corporation. But it sounds like it makes people think that it means them because it said a person. It didn't say a people. It can't say a people. The lawful side is a people, or the people. A single is a people. It doesn't sound grammatically correct, and that's what they count on. They want to say, oh, you're a person. You're a person, right? So a lot of people be dingy and say, yep, nope, I'm a people. You know, you got to be a man or a woman to be the people, or a people. Now, the next thing I want to get onto is a U.S. Supreme Court decision. This might help people dealing in foreclosures. It might help you understanding state and federal banks and rules and regulations and some do's and don'ts. And this case has never been overturned. I checked it. You know, it didn't have in the West citations. It did not have an O. If you don't got an O as an Oscar, an O beside it, it's never been overturned. Overturned will have an O. Or, yeah, separate citations. Anyway, it says U.S. Supreme Court, Davis, Davis versus Elmira, Elmira, Savings Bank. That is 161 U.S. 275. One more time. Davis versus Elmira, Elmira, Savings Bank. Excuse me, I had to get my light to come back on. Davis versus Elmer Savings Bank, 161 U.S. 275. This was decided in 1896. This is another good reason that this law is good, is because it happened before the 1933 bankruptcy that FDR put us into, and put the United States, not the United States of America, but the United States Government Corporation, which is separate from us, put it into bankruptcy. So that meant the government's assets were in bankruptcy. At the time of the bankruptcy, anything after 1933 doesn't continue to just keep being added to it. Like, oh, well, now you got some more assets. All of our ships and planes and stuff since 1933 aren't in there. I'll argue that all day, all night. When you go to a bankruptcy, whatever you have that particular day on bankruptcy is all there is. Whatever you have the day after the bankruptcy is complete. That's it. And you can't have an unending bankruptcy that just goes and goes and goes and goes and goes. And people talk about the war powers courts, saying, that we're still in a state of emergency since 1933. And so we have war powers courts, which are traffic courts in municipalities and county courts, and you got a lot of things that's unauthorized. No, that can't be true, because if there is a bankruptcy, and it is a lawful bankruptcy, see, you get the possibility, what if it was unlawful? Ooh, then look at that. But if it is a lawful bankruptcy, okay, then the bankruptcy has to be posted open and notorious. If that puts you into a state of emergency, that has to be posted open and notorious. It also has to post the rights, remedies, and recourse. Even if you're in a state of emergency, there has to be a remedy for rights and recourse. If you're in a military tribunal, tri means three. It's a bunal. It's a tribunal. That's three military officers, if it's correct. Tribunal. There's three of them. There's three judges that sit there that listen to your case. Okay? And 2 out of 3 wins. If one abstains for whatever reason and it's a tie, then it goes back to the lower decision. Or it would have to be basically a push. Now you get into a lot of technical areas and gray areas, and it gets pretty dang deep. Oh, before I forget, my friend, what should I call him? New England Phil. New England Phil sent me a mini laptop to help me with some of my production, some of my research, which is coming in handy, and I appreciate it, and I appreciate him. I told him I was going to acknowledge him. He's not looking for no fanfare or nothing, but he's a good man, and he has had some various jobs in the past, and basically speaking, God woke him up one day and said, look what you're doing to these people. And no, he wasn't a policeman, but he had some other jobs. And he said, look, you're not doing the people right. You need to do something else. And so he changed his life. Well, now he's trying to help himself, help his family, help people like me. And he knew I was trying to get the word out. And so he sent me this mini laptop, which has been a help to me too. I'm still kind of learning it and still kind of using it. All mini laptops work a lot alike, but there are a few differences, and that's just one of them things you have to toy around on. And I've talked to him a few times, and he's a fantastic guy. But to New England Dan, thank you for that. And I guess I'm just forever grateful. My friend, Brother Tony, the guru, he set up my computer and got it running like a top. I thank him and thank him for all that he's done. And then I got a brother Larry that bought my book, The Excellence of the Common Law by Brent Winters. I still continue to remember him and thank him. And then my Logitech, my HD Pro, excellent video. My good buddy down in Tampa, Mr. Jim, sent to me. I still think about that. And my friends in the North Carolina study group, they gave me some gifts, and I can't say what that is. But anyway, it was a nice gift. It's 100% legit, but it's a nice gift. Part of it was they paid for my hotel and my expenses, so it didn't cost nothing out of my pocket. Let me just say that. They took care of all of my expenses, and they've been kind to my church, and it's been a big help and a great blessing. And I don't know. Let's see. I can't. I want to say their names, but I can't because they haven't told me I can. But I'll just say the host and hostess of the North Carolina Study Group. They are. I'm so grateful to them. And Mr. Rod Class, he and I, we had a couple of sessions where we spoke privately to each other, and I believe we have a lot of the same philosophy, same belief system. He has a system that he operates within, best as I can tell, 90 to 100% of the time. And I've got a system that I work in 90 to 100% of the time. And, it's kind of like I'm here and he's here. We're kind of right there together. It's almost like, they got these set of laws, which are the common law. Then they got the statutory law. Okay? Then right dead in the middle is the administrative law. Well, he deals over here in the statutes and utilizes their statutes and their codes and their policies to make them do what they're supposed to do. Even though these are all screwed up, if you know how to use it, good for you. And he knows how to do this stuff. Rod Class, a very intelligent man. I like him. But he knows how to do that. But he also knows how to move to the middle ground, which is the administrative state. It's an unconstitutional form of governance. There's nothing for it in the Constitution whatsoever. But it's something that started with the bankruptcy in 1933. And there's numerous congressional records that allows for that. It's not constitutional. It's repugnant to the Constitution. But still yet they've allowed it. Okay? And it's taken over as the biggest form of government. Now I'm over here in the common law, the law of God, the law of the Holy Bible, which is the source of all law. Every law around the world come out of this. But most especially where we're studying, the United States come completely, totally out of this. Well, this law here will kind of go over into that administrative law. Well, this other law kind of come over. So, no, this ain't praying hands. But, yes, I should be praying more. But it's like these meet in the middle. You can come from this side and go here, or this side and come here. So they're getting administrative remedies. There are people I know with traffic citations. I just call them revenue paper. Oh, it's another revenue paper. You write me a revenue paper trying to squeeze some labor out of me because you get something of value based on your labor. So when they fine you some of that value, then that's another form of putting you to work. Okay? So you got to go out and work. You got to do your labor to get something of value, gold, silver, dollar bills, whatever. They're making you go work to get that money to pay for something on a piece of paper that's fiction, to a fiction judge, to a fiction court that's operating repugnant to the Constitution. But probably within the worst power court, but that's unlawful because they haven't posted it open and notorious. So anyway, these people that I know, several of them have gone and they go with this administrative remedy, which is where they find out who the administrator is, whoever the man or woman is for that county or that city or the state, whoever the administrator is. So they basically go in and they make their administrative claims, why it's administrative and why they have a right to it and yada, yada, yada. Anyway, by the time it's all said and done, then you go to some hearing. some people get a letter back that says, we do not refute or object to your well, there goes them emails again. I done got two of those on here. It never ends. Daymond, Daymond 4040 at yahoo.com. Y'all know, because y'all keep emailing me and I answer everybody's email. I haven't missed one single man or woman. Woo! Good for me. Anyway, please subscribe. Please find a friend or two and tell them subscribe. Every time I get an extra subscriber, I just go, woo! It's just very exciting to me. I never planned on being a teacher my entire life. I said teaching something I wouldn't be interested in doing. You know, when they're talking about careers. Well, I didn't want to teach in a junior high or high school or college or nothing per se. But I got into teaching some law enforcement things, peace officer things, and firearms. And I was telling people before I knew it about the law and how it works and how it don't work and why it works and things that they could do, telling them options. Not advising them what to do, but saying, look, according to the law, you got 2 or 3 options here. You may have more the law ain't telling you about. You just have to go and find out. But they go get these administrative things, and the administrator says, we're not rebuking this. So we're going to send a notice to the municipal court and tell them that we have rectified the controversy administratively, non-judicially, and that they need to remove this from the books and to show that it's being given in your favor. So that means it's dismissed. And you got it dismissed with cause. Because administratively you show where they don't have this right and that right and the other right, and that they're acting non-judicially and this and this, and you demand your remedy. And so they're writing them back, and so they get something from the court that says your case has been dismissed and so. But if you don't put all that into the administrator, when either they write you back, that you know you're requiring that should they find it sufficient to notify you within 20 business days or whatever, or set a hearing for you thereafter. If they agree and they do not refute, rebuke, or object to you, then please notify you in writing and send the following copy to the judicial/administrative court, you know, at ABC Street, anywhere town USA, wherever it happened at, and it says you are hereby notified by the county administrator to dismiss this case for cause. It has been rectified administratively through the administrator's office. No further action will be necessary. You must notify Mr. Jones within 10 business days that you've done that, and it's in a copy to us too. Please place your court seal and clerk's seal upon it. So then in my mail something shows up. Yeah, I ain't done this. I ain't done it myself. I only know other people. So they get this piece of paper and it's got the court seal on there and the thing that says that they received this and that your case has been dismissed with cause, blah, blah, blah. Then you got your other piece of paper so that we don't rebuke and that we're going to instruct them to remove this. So you got them both together. Guess what? It works. Not for everybody, not for everywhere. This isn't a silver bullet. It's an option. If you go to court, and when you go into court, you say to them, I want to know, is this an administrative court or is this a non-constitutional court or is this an administrative court? What type of court are you? What set of rules and regulations are you going to go by? I have to know these things so I can prepare a defense for myself. I am not yet ready to defend myself. and make them say it on the record, if possible. Or you can take your own court stenographer for $200 to $400 to take down court stenographer. Not just your case, but they can take it down for other people too. That way you can show if there's a pattern that they do a certain pattern a certain way, you may want to use that. And they can't refuse your stenographer. They're an officer of the court. Or curtilage of the court, whatever you want to call it. Anyway, the point is, they're going to have to let them in. Now, a lot of times they go have these little powwows about figuring out anything they could do, and they say, well, I ain't coming to the court without it because that's my court record and I have a right to my court record, and I'm not capable and able to do it. And this is a certified court stenographer, and they're recognized by the Supreme Court of the state. So if you ain't let them in, then I'm going to write an emergency order to the Chief Justice of the Supreme Court of my state or federal court or the U.S. Supreme Court, whichever it may be, to order them to order you to stand down, yield and capitulate to my constitutional right as a man. You know, that's another way to go. And a lot of times they'll say, well, what are you wanting? I want this ticket dismissed for cause he didn't have no right to do what he did to me. And I want it dismissed with cause now. And me and my stenographer will leave. But you need to tell the police to leave me alone just as well. And your little stenographer it drives them crazy. It makes them accountable. You got to know how to use the system against the system. Okay? There's more ways to go. You got questions or comments? Put them in the comments down there. Subscribe to me. Pray for me and my family and for all these other people that's been giving me gifts and poor downtown Dan and, you know. Oh, the other thing is, you know what? I had this thought, but I didn't say nothing to nobody. But I've got emails from a half a dozen people, and I've had probably 6 or 8, 10 people in my family over the last week ask me, what about these Confederate monuments? I said, you know what? I'm going to think about it. I had already been thinking about it, but I thought a little bit more about it. And then one of my friends wrote me and he said, he said, I've got the answer to all this. So I said, he's a smart dang man. Let me read this. He said, if you go back, it was the Republican Party who tried and pushed through the Emancipation Proclamation. You had a Republican president and you had a Republican Congress that pushed the Emancipation Proclamation directly and indirectly into law in the Constitution eventually, and they put it into federal laws and have codified them, etc., etc. Okay, that was the Republicans that did that. The Republicans also did the Reconstruction Act. Okay, the Reconstruction Act is what gave you more, because women didn't vote, white women, black women, no women voted at that time. It gave more black men elected positions such as constable, marshal, sheriff, state legislature, state senator, national representative, national senators in Congress and the Senate. You had more black men in local, county, state, and national government than you ever have ever since to this very day. In my opinion, per capita, the nation has grown tenfold since then, whatever, at least tenfold. So, yeah, you may have however many positions you got now, but you go back, and I'm not talking about like policemen, okay, if you say policemen, well, there may be 6,000 or 8,000 or 10,000 black policemen in the country. I ain't talking about that, but I'm talking elected sheriff, elected constable, elected marshal, elected as, Congress people in your state legislatures, in the legislature and in your Senate, and in the federal Congress and the federal Senate, and had nice military ranks. And I ain't talking like a sergeant, I'm talking like some lieutenants and captains and majors and so forth were black. Okay? That was the Republicans that did that. The Republicans tried to do away with the Ku Klux Klan. They tried to push down neo-Nazis. They tried to press down the white supremacy groups, okay? Now, the Democrats, especially in the South Democrats, they helped push along Jim Crow laws. They erected statutes to Confederate soldiers. That was the Democrats, okay, that helped fund the KKK, helped fund all these other white supremacy groups. In fact, a lot of Democrats during World War II said it wouldn't be too awful bad. Now, I'm surmising, I'm just kind of putting together, if I said the wrong word, I'm kind of crunching a lot of different people from videos and documentaries I seen that were white Democrats in various states and national Democrats. They're the ones that wanted and said, well, if we had a Hitler-like government, we'd be better off. It's just they wanted to be the ruling class. But if that had happened, it was the Democrats that were doing away with black people. They were trying to push the blacks down. Push. And the Republicans were trying to give every black person a fair shot in general. I'm not saying there was no bad Republicans, but the lion's majority of Democrats were against blacks, and the lion's majority of Republicans were for blacks. Okay? So, we ain't going to talk about an individual or a few individuals. We're talking the thousands and thousands of people that hold positions of public trust throughout the country. Okay? This happened over and over and over and over. So, why is it now that the first time Democrats come across the line and they almost didn't get it? LBJ, Lyndon Baines Johnson, he had to twist people's arms. He had to threaten people with harm coming to their employment or doing away with things. He used an ungodly amount of muscle on a lot of Democrats to get the Civil Rights Act passed. But as soon as it passed and federal force was used in a lot of places to get black people elected, get black people registered to vote, and they were going to vote in large numbers, then the Democrats said, let's readjust our binoculars here. Black people are going to go vote in a block. And when they're for a particular person, they're going to block out. There may be one or two or three that vote for somebody else, but they're going to go in a whole block. So the Democrats changed their stats and let's go after the black people, the people we oppressed, the people we told to stay on the other side of the tracks, the people we made Jim Crow laws about. These were the Southern white Democrats. Now we're going to go be their friends. So they went and promised some stuff, and they didn't keep their promises. They might have been a little nicer or a little friendlier, but that was usually around election time. Think about it. Okay, so they're the ones that got all the statutes up. They're the ones that vote against this here. Now they want to turn everything against our president, Donald J. Trump, and they want to lay that at his doorstep. So he was trying to let you know that there are good people on both sides. And I believe there are good people on both sides. However, you can have somebody that has an extreme belief and they do nothing wrong. They don't go throw urine on nobody. They don't throw feces on nobody. They don't go knock nobody's head off with a bat or shoot them or run over them with a car or nothing like that. Okay? Those are people on both sides. Nobody's not doing that stuff. And most generally, I have watched numerous documentaries all over YouTube. I've watched them on TV. I've watched them on select programming where people have sent me news articles on video that I can watch. And it ain't that there wasn't nobody that was a white supremacist, that there wasn't anybody, because there was some. There's video of them hurting or maiming or seriously damaging somebody that's black or non-white. Could be Hispanic or something else, okay? But there was videos of that. But I'd say 80%, 90% was whites, blacks, browns, reds, and yellows, men and women that were for tearing down these statutes, identifying as Democrats that were sitting there spraying urine and feces, and they went hard, cold, nasty, dog-blooded acting out in violence. Okay, the people on the other side were mainly protecting themselves. Now, if Black Lives Matter, if they got a march coming, the police have a duty and responsibility to protect the street that they do their march on. Okay? If the Black Panthers, which are still around, people say they're not, but they are. The Black Panthers, if they want to march down the street, or this new group called themselves the New Black Panthers, which there's actually basically one, but there are elements that's got two different elements, and I know because I've studied this out, and I've studied the people inside and outside these organizations, because I want to know what's going on. And working with various militias, I have to know what's going on to try and help keep peace and calm. Okay, then they have their right. So if you're for whites only, blacks only, reds or yellows only, or you're for black supremacist, you get your parade. White supremacists, you get your brown supremacists, red and yellow supremacists, whatever kind of supremacist you are, you have your right to speak. That's your political right. That's your inherent right. And you are to be protected, and people are to leave you alone. When their march is over, you get your march. Now, if you're a counter protester, you stand behind the lines. You can speak your piece. We hate you and we hate your ideas and whatever. And when you do yours, they can stand on and yell at yours. But you can't throw bags of urine and feces at people. That's assault or aggravated assault or deadly assault, depending on what your state law says. You can't pull knives and guns and jump out and run over people and stuff, no matter what. That's called civility. Civility. So, I just thought it'd be worthwhile to educate anybody that it was the Democrats that did all that. Okay? Now, me, I have been a Republican and a Democrat both. So, you can paint me how you want to be. I've been both. Now, I consider myself independent. I'm not one, I'm not the other. It's just the truth is the truth. The truth has no agenda. And I thought about not even saying this, but I said, so many people have asked me, and they value my opinion, that I thought I should tell them and show them. So please subscribe. Please help my PayPal account out. Daymond, D-A-Y-M-O-N-D, 4040 at yahoo.com. That's my PayPal account. Any gift you can give to me, $1, $2, $3 would be great. $5, $10, even better. If you don't give nothing, I'm still going to be here, and I'm still going to do these videos, and I'm still going to pray for all of you. If you give money and you want to be acknowledged, I'll give you acknowledgement. If you want to remain anonymous, you remain anonymous. You see that I just use basic general terms, so the people watching this know who I have thanked, because they watch and they say, "Oh, he just said me," but he didn't say me for whatever reason, because maybe they're a cop and they don't want to come out, but they're trying to learn so they can be a constitutional cop. Maybe they're a judge, but they can't get this out here that they're watching and paying attention and learning from me things they didn't learn in law school, and they didn't teach them about being a judge. Some people are going into the military and they want to know, or they're coming out of the military and want to know. So I've got people of a lot of different occupations that watch me, okay? And they're more interested in, some of them's in First Amendment audits, and some of us more interested in being stopped by the cops. Some's more in words and terminology. Some's in foreclosures. You know, there's like a whole bunch of gamuts. I know a lot about a lot, but there is some that I only have a minimum knowledge on, but I'm trying to get more and more knowledge. Remember, in the comments, write what you want me to talk about. What is your favorite topic? Or if you don't want to be in there, then email me like some of you do and say, "I'd like you to talk about this or that." And sometimes I incorporate one or two main things, and then I'll cover 8 or 9 more miscellaneous things. And I know this film's going to be about 50 minutes long. If you can't watch it all at one time, watch it in 3 or 4 segments. That's all I know to say. I'm a dog lover. I'm a peaceful man. I'm for peaceful resolution. I'm for being fair and square. And but if somebody comes to my house and they're hungry, I'll do the very best I can to feed them. Somebody comes to my house and so much as tries to take so much as the garden hose out of my front yard, there is going to be a serious consequence for attempting to steal something from me. And if you come after me or my family to hurt me, well, you know, the next person you see will be whoever you see in the great hereafter under. I say it'll be the Jesus or Satan. But for people that believe different, whatever. But whatever happens, I'll be the last thing you see if you come here to hurt us or kill us, or my family or my friends. I believe in self-defense to the nth degree. And I wouldn't hesitate to send you to the great beyond. So if you're friendly, I do everything I can for you. I've done thousands and thousands of dollars of work for people over the last 3 months for free. Free. I've sent them cases. I've sent them paperwork. I've told them things that were my opinion. I've told everybody, and I'm telling you, I am not a medical doctor. I am not a bar card lawyer. I'm not a bar card judge. This is absent legal value, absent legal intent, absent legal authority, and whatever else is supposed to be absent. If I don't know it, I'm in it. I am a medicine man. The Indian in me is a medicine man. The brain and all that's within me from my training experience, I'm a retired chief of police, I'm a retired chief deputy constable, former U.S. Marshal and Texas Ranger, and still current as far as I'm concerned, but that's neither here nor there. I don't run around trying to exercise their duties, authorities, and so forth. But anyway, I've spent, just 39 plus years learning this stuff and reading these books, okay, and going to seminars with lawyers, with doctors, sitting in conferences in groups of 2 or 3 or 4 men, maybe a woman or not, around a round table, on phone calls, on video chats, in their homes, in my home. But let me thank Jay, my good buddy. Thank you. Steve over at PNP News, thank you. David over at News Now Houston, thank you. Keith at Bama Camera, thank you. Man, I'm afraid I'm going to leave somebody out. Sheepdog. I can't never say this right. SDX Prez. I just call him Mr. Prez or the Prez. He knows who I am. He's a big First Amendment auditor. Thank all you guys for your phone calls, your little text, emails, video chats, everything y'all have done with me over the last 3 months or so. Anything that y'all have done for me, gave to me as a gift, advice or whatever, I appreciate it. I'm still learning. I do seriously plan to go do some First Amendment audits, but I'm kind of like Steve over at P&P. Some people robbed him and stole from him while he's doing it, and we think it's law enforcement backed, and there's a lot of evidence to point to that. Anyway, he's going to wait till it gets a little cooler and go out, and I'm going to wait till it gets a little cooler and go out and start doing some of these with other people, where I'll be the lead person behind the camera. And they're going to come up, who are you? I know, who are you? I'm the police. Okay, great. Who are you? I'm a man. What's your name? Pudding-tame. Ask me again and I'll tell you the same. I don't know. I have to play it by ear. I probably say, I'm a man. What's your name? Man. That's your name, man? Yeah, I'm man. Where do you live? In this body. Where are you coming from? I come from God. Funny. Where are you going? I'm going back to God. And it's true. My soul lives in this body. I come from God. I'm going back to God. And my name is man. I made in the image of God, Genesis 1:26 through 28. You can't dispute it. And I am not a name. I am a man. A name is a name is a name. I am 1,000 different things. And I'm 1,000 different things that I ain't. So God bless you. Go on over here and bing, subscribe. Call a friend, text a friend. Oh, you got to see Damon Chief Jones. He's such a really nice guy. And he don't cuss. He might let a word slip out, but he tries to don't never say no cuss words. Or if he does, he explains what the words means and the origins. And he's working on being a word mage. He is one of sorts, and a word engineer, a social engineer. He does a lot of things. But my interests have been this wide all my life. I mean, I talk to you about rocket fuel. I talk to you about gasoline in your car. I talk to you about building a house off the grid. I talk to you about all kind of alternative energy. I talk to you about traffic courts versus admin courts. I talk to you about the congressional record. I talk to you about the laws that are wrote in like a police. Most police run around with a book. They're about that thick in a lot of places, and sometimes thicker. And it says statutes. Well, he's been programmed. It's hard to deprogram him that those are a private copyrighted law. In other words, if I am the legislature and I write all these laws out, and they're exact words and exact meanings, and then I give them to this other guy, and then he takes them